So before we get into some of the cool progressions we can do with the side plank, we really got to instill the good foundational movement habits of the side plank. So a lot of people are going to be, they're too cool to start from the knees. I'll tell you what, starting from the knees is going to be very appropriate whether you're a beginner or someone who's been doing side planks for a while, but you've been cheating in a way that maybe you didn't realize. So we're always going to start people with bent knees and a little bit of hip flexion, and I'll go over that in a moment. The other key is having that elbow underneath the shoulder, and notice that Jessica's actually having her hand flat on the ground because she's going to engage her hand to help that chain activate that lat. If you sort of relax the hand or you don't actively push through the forearm, you're going to lose some of that lat activation. So again, whenever we're creating force from the ground, we got to create force from everything that's in contact with the ground. So that's going to be very important. So when Jessica decides to come up, what she's going to focus upon, I'm not going to tell her to lift her hips up. She's going to push through her elbow, hand, and forearm, and push through her hip and knees, and then she's going to extend her hips. So at this point, her glutes are fully extended or tightened, and that's extending her hips. And see, she goes a little bit of hip flexion then. She can reposition herself if she wants, and she's going to do it again. Eyes being forward, shoulder being back here, without going into a lumbar extension, and come back down. So when you're going to manipulate leverage, however, what I really like to progress people to is immediately using the iso pull and the ultimate sandbag as soon as possible. The reason being, and this can even be foundational, this can be preceding what we just showed you with just the body weight version, is to get more activation through the body. So you should start to understand and start to hear us say enough times throughout this program that when we create full body tension and create proper tension, that we're creating stability through the body. So that often makes an exercise easier for your client. So doing a body weight drill could be more difficult than creating deliberate tension by adding a little external load. Okay? It's going to make more sense as you experience this. Now, a couple of things are going to be very important to convey to your client before we get into this. One is they're not going to actively lift the ultimate sandbag up. So a core of power doesn't really matter. There's going to be the appropriate sizes for most of your clients. You're not going to lift it. You're just going to take tension out of the suitcase handle. By doing this, you're going to start creating tension in that opposing lat. And we talked about lat and glute connection a lot, so this will help this lower hip, the hip down on the fourth side, become stronger and more active. So what you also want to do is convey that you're not trying to lift up, you're going to make an arcing action. So as though Jessica's going to try to hit me with her elbow. So again, a lot of people want to make it like an upright row, but you want to make that arcing action in. And it's going to be very small and slight with the iso pull because we're not actually lifting the load. So when Jessica goes down in the position, she's going to step just like we did in the baseline. Then she's got the broad side facing her. She still want to go elbow, hand, forearm, hip up. And then as she does so, she's going to create tension in the handle. So she's got full hip extension, tension in the handle. See the shoulders nice and tight? It helps lock her into place, come back down. So any people that have that problem where they tend to go into that lumbar extension, this is a great way to solve a lot of it because when that lat becomes active, so does the core become more active, and it starts to prevent people from trying to live off their low back. So let's watch it again. Jessica goes in that position, creates tension, and you see she's not actively lifting, she's keeping that straight line, and back down. So if I saw her starting to shrug her shoulder upwards, she's trying to lift it too early on. It's too heavy of a load. This is going to be one of those drills where you find a little bit of weight goes a long ways. We'll give you